If you're looking for a laptop that won't let you down when you need it to, that feels solid day after day, and actually justifies its price tag, you probably know the feeling of hesitation when the specs start sounding like a marketing brochure. You've probably asked yourself, will this thing actually handle my CAD files, my video renders, and my endless Zoom meetings without turning into a brick? That's the exact spot where I try to step in, because buying a mobile workstation isn't just about chasing numbers, it's about making sure the machine fits into the rhythm of your work life. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Lenovo Thinkpad P14s is positioned as a compact, 14-inch workstation that promises the muscle of a desktop in a bag-friendly shell. It's built on the AMD Ryzen 7350N 5th-gen processor, paired with up to 64GB of DDR5 RAM and a massive 4TB PCIe NVMe SSD. On paper that sounds like a dream, but the real test is how those pieces behave when you fire up a Revit model, export a 4K video, or simply run a dozen browser tabs while on a train. First, let's talk about the day-to-day setup. The 14-inch IPS WUXGA screen, 19201200, is a subtle step up from the typical 1080p panels you see on many business laptops. The extra vertical pixels give you a little more workspace for spreadsheets or code without sacrificing the classic 16:10 feel. In my own testing, the display held up nicely under bright office lighting, and the 60Hz refresh rate was perfectly adequate for design work. You won't notice any stutter when scrolling through large PDFs or moving layers in Photoshop. However, if you're a gamer or do color-critical photography, you'll miss the higher refresh rates and wider color gamuts you find on dedicated creator laptops. So, the screen is a practical strength for professionals who need crisp text and a bit more vertical real estate, but not a selling point for visual artists who demand Adobe-level color accuracy. Performance is where the P14s really starts to separate itself from the usual business class crowd. The Ryzen 7350 can boost up to 5 GHz, and with 64GB of DDR5 you have ample headroom for multitasking. I ran a simultaneous workflow, 3D rendering in Blender, a video encode in Handbrake, and a full-size Excel model with external data connections. The system stayed responsive, and the heat never spiked beyond a comfortable 75°C under load. The integrated Radeon 860M graphics, while not a powerhouse, handled the rendering previews fine and managed 1080p playback without dropping frames. If you need certified NVIDIA Quadro graphics for heavy-duty CAD, you'll need to look elsewhere, but for most engineers, architects, and data scientists the shared GPU is a sensible compromise that keeps power consumption and weight down. Now, the storage story. A 4TB PCIe SSD is a rarity at this price point, and it translates directly into productivity. Loading large project files that used to take minutes now feels instantaneous. The SSD also means the laptop can stay quiet because there's no spinning platter to contend with. One practical downside is that the drive is soldered onto the motherboard, so if you ever need to upgrade or replace it, you'll be looking at a professional service rather than a simple swap. If you're a user who likes to swap drives for backups, that's something to keep in mind. Battery life is always a hot topic for mobile workstations, and the P14s ships with a 65W battery and a 65W power delivery USB-C charger. In a typical office day emails, document editing, occasional video call I saw about 7 to 8 hours of real-world usage before I needed to plug in. When I pushed it with a full-scale render, the runtime dropped to around 4 hours. The trade-off here is clear: you get a powerful CPU and massive SSD, but you also get a battery that won't survive an all-day field job without a charger. If you travel light and expect to be off-grid for long stretches, you might want to keep a power bank or external charger handy. Connectivity on the P14s is a pleasant surprise. It includes 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an HDMI 2.1 output, and a dedicated RJ45 Ethernet jack, something you rarely see on Ultrabooks. The Thunderbolt ports let you daisy-chain an external 4K monitor and a fast external SSD without any performance hit. The bundled DockStorm USB hub expands those ports further, giving you a practical way to add a mouse, headphones, and a card reader to a single cable. In my workflow, I plugged the hub into the laptop, attached a 27-inch 4K monitor, a USB-C external SSD, and a wired network, and everything just worked. No driver quirks, no random disconnects. What about the keyboard and security features? The ThinkPad lineage brings back the classic, slightly concave, backlit keyboard that many of us have grown to trust. The key travel is sufficient for long typing sessions, and the fingerprint sensor on the power button adds a convenient layer of security without slowing you down. The chassis itself is still built to the ThinkPad durability standards, meaning it can survive the occasional bag toss and coffee spill. There's nothing groundbreaking here, but